Hey folks, welcome back to the Priory podcast. My name is Dave Jackson. Welcome back to a very soggy western Pennsylvania. Um, so today on the Priory, uh, well, hey, listen. One of the best things about this podcast is I get to talk to priors over many, many decades to find out what they had to do, what they had to endure to get the job done, what was required of them. And it's different for every decade because technology changes, things change. Uh, and this podcast is a real eye opener for me. So, without further ado, we're going to go back to 1977. Jimmy Carter was the president. Gas was about 60 cents a gallon nationally. Number one song was Tonight's the Night by Rod Stewart. And number one TV show was Happy Days. It was called the Disco Tour. And today on the podcast, we have a gentleman that was an 8-year sergeant. He was in the career field of supply. And I will absolutely say he's a legendary harmonica player. So today on the podcast, he's a Wilco winner, by the way. He's a Wilco winner. He has so many extra side talents, which is why I understand why Thompson Blue brought this guy on board, not to mention because of his main talent of harmonica playing. But please welcome to the Priory podcast, Charles Sugar Harp Burroughs, Thompson Blue, 1977. On you. All right, folks. Charles Burroughs is here with me on the Priory podcast. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me. It's an honor and a pleasure to absolutely meet you. I don't think we've ever met before. Did you go?
No,
Did you go to the
I,
60th anniversary reunion? Did you go to the reunion in Colorado?
yeah, I went to Colorado. I was
Yeah,
there.
then I saw you.
Yeah. Well,
I saw you.
as a matter of fact, I know I saw you.
Yep. Yep. I could
Hmm.
not remember. I said, I bet he was I bet he was at Colorado. So, well, at least
Yeah,
we've met in some capacity before. So, again,
yeah.
thank you for
I was
joining me.
I was the guy who did the at the picnic did that little thing with a harmonica.
That's right.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. That was a good time in Colorado.
Yes, yes, it
That
was.
was a good time. All right. So how I want to start with you is before we get into anything Tops and Blue adjacent, I want to hear your origin story. I want to hear where you grew up, when you went into service. Give me the pre-Tops and Blue part of your life if you could.
Okay. Well, it's a kind of a long story, but to make a long story short, uh, uh, I was born in Columbus, Georgia. I left there when I was about 6 or 7 months old. My father was in the Navy,
Okay.
and he was going through some training at Fort Benning, I think, in Columbus. And I was born in Columbus, and we migrated to Tampa, Florida, with his family, his mom and grandparents and sisters and brothers were all in Tampa, Florida. So we migrated to Tampa,
Hmm.
and we uh uh that's where I practically grew up. I call that my home, Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
And I started playing harmonica and got interested in fashion design when I was about 8, 9 years old. What happened is that my great grandfather was Native American. He lived in Plains, Georgia,
Okay.
and my parents used to take us to Plains, Georgia, every summer to visit him. And he played harmonica. He played harmonica and he played slide guitar. And actually everybody in the neighborhood played stuff like jugs and
Everybody played
bones.
something.
They played jugs and unorthodox instruments. They played jug, bones, spoons, wash tubs. Nobody had a real instrument, the stubborn instrument. They made everything.
Right. Right.
So I grabbed his harmonica, and he told me you're never supposed to grab another man's axe, musically speaking.
Yes. Yes.
And he told me you want to learn how to play this. and I suffered from a speech impediment called stuttering. And in those days, they didn't have any speech pathology.
Mm-hmm.
It just set you in the back of the room in a class and gave you books or just something to do.
Right.
And but what he did, I stuttered really bad. So he gave me the harmonica. It was one that he had during World War II. As a matter of fact, he was a veteran also, and he taught me some things on the harmonica. And he says, when you come back next year, I want you to know how to play this. So when I came back next year, I was playing that, then some. He says, "Wow." He says, "You learn quick." And I says, "Well, I love this. I just love the sound of a harmonica."
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I started to sing, and by me playing and singing it, it taught me how to speak. So that was my
Interesting.
that was my beginning with music. But we always had music in the house. My mom had phonographs, music in church and things of this sort.
Mm-hmm.
But from there, and then I was an athlete. I thought I was going to be a professional basketball player, football player, and I made all honors in high school, junior high school, and high school. And when I turned 18 years old, the parents give you the talk. In my culture, they says, "Well, you're 18 years old. You, you need to be out on your own." You
Mm-hmm.
know, they kind of push you out of the nest.
Yes.
So what I did, I decided, well, I was in Tampa, Florida, and my grandparents, my grandparents, not my great grandparents, my grandmother lived in New York. So I decided, well, I'll just go into the big city to see what I can do with my music. So with $5 in my pocket, I caught a migrant farm workers bus that stopped at the state building. And one of my friends told me that they used to go pick apples during the summer. So what I did when I was 18, I turned 18. I hadn't graduated. I dropped out of school and I went. My mom gave me $5, and I got on the bus,
Mm-hmm.
and we went all the way to a little place upstate New York called Byron, New York.
Well, I know where Byron's at. I'm from upstate New York.
Okay.
Yep.
So in Byron and Batavia, New York, we cultivated beets, and that's where most of the beet farms are.
Mm-hmm.
So we cultivated beets, and it was really grueling work. But by me being a young man and having good legs and arms and athletic, it was I became a foreman right away because I did it a lot faster than most of the other people. But on the way to New York, we stopped in places like Greenville, Alabama, Greenville, Mississippi, and Carolina, picking up other people.
Mm-hmm.
And once we got there, within a couple of weeks, I had made enough money to take a bus to go to New York City with where my grandmother was at. And then I kept in contact with my mom and my grandmother. She was in a place called uh, South Jamaica, New York. That's where she lived on the island.
Okay.
So I called uh, the people next door because she didn't have a phone. And I called and found out where she was at. And then I found out her location. And I caught the bus and got off at the Port Authority, which was a big shock to me
I bet.
because of the goings on in New York. I got off at the Port Authority to wait for her. She was gonna send a cab. They call it a car in those days.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Uber, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a cab. She paid someone to come pick me up. So you when they say you got a show on every corner in New York, they were actually true.
Yeah.
There was something weird going on every corner outside of the Port Authority. So that was a culture shock.
What year
So
we talking about now? What year are we at?
we're talking about 68.
What? So how old were you when you got handed that harmonica first?
I was 8 years old.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So now we're at 68 and you're in New York City. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And when I was 18, I moved to New York City
Okay.
on the bus. Now, and by the age of 18, I had become pretty good with the harmonica and my blues.
Hmm.
So I decided I want to kind of get in the mix in New York because that's where I figured it would be the studios and I could meet somebody that could
Yeah.
turn me on. So I, I established an apartment in South Jamaica, Long Island, and I went to work at a wallet factory making wallets and to sustain myself. And at the same time, right across the street from the wallet factory was a 40 projects.
Okay.
And the 40 projects was famous for a lot of entertainers come out of the projects. And I didn't know this. But one day I was going to work and I was just playing my harmonica and this guy stopped me. He says, "Hey man," he says, "I play guitar." He lived in the 40 projects right next to the factory. He says, "I play guitar." He says, "Why don't we get together sometimes?" And I got together with him and another and his brother played drums and another neighbor played bass and another player played saxophone. And
Wow.
we started, and it's weird. We started a group called the Jamaica Playboys, and the reason we call ourselves the Jamaica Playboys because we were all in South Jamaica, New York, out
Right.
on the island, and we were all young men, so we call ourselves. We were available young men, so we started playing mostly R&B
Hmm.
and stuff of that sort, and we got pretty popular. But I needed more. Uh, uh, so what I did I decided to go back to school. Playing with them part time, I started to go back to school. So I went back to school at Jamaica High School in Long Island, Queens, New York, and got my GED.
Right.
And once I got my GED, one of the counselors says, "Man, you scored maybe the one of the highest scores on this GED we've ever had. So how would you like to go to college?" I said, "Yeah, why not?" So I didn't know that they were gonna. I was gonna get registered to go to the oldest, one of the oldest colleges in the U.S. of A. called Wilberforce University in Ohio. So they registered me at the University of Ohio. I mean, Wilberforce University, Ohio, and I did well. I matriculated well there. And in the meantime, that was when the civil rights programs were going on and we had all the differences and and lesson plans were going on and I got involved in the civil rights
Okay.
deal and I started dating the president of the university's daughter and he didn't like that. He didn't like no her
Wow.
date. He didn't like because I was kind of under her class.
Uh-huh.
So what he did on purpose, he didn't turn in, but I thank him for it though because he didn't turn in my student deferment, and I actually got drafted
Oh.
into the army. So what I did, I went down to Whitehall Street. That's where they induct you in New York at the time. And I told them, I says, look, I says, I want to go into a branch of the service where I can help people. That's what I told them. Because at the time, your expectancy in 68 in Vietnam, the life expectancy was kind of, in jeopardy.
Hmm.
So what I did, this and the tech sergeant that was uh uh filling out the paperwork, he says, well, you were supposed to go to the army. But he says, I'm gonna give you a choice. And then he took me in a room, me and six more guys, and after I made a perfect score on the entrance exam for the military, he said, look, this is what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to give you a choice. He said, I can do this. He said, I can pull this off. And he sent me through the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, the Coast Guard. They just showed us films. So I says, I think I'd like to go in the Air Force. So that's how I ended up in the Air Force, and I do not regret it. I did not regret it. I enjoyed my 8 years.
Good. Wow.
Mhm.
So you completely self-taught yourself harmonica
Yes, I'm self-taught,
all by
uh,
ear.
and my vocals. I'm self-taught. I just started doing. I'm also a lyricist, uh, a writer. I write music. One of those pictures that I gave you was off of my one of my CDs.
I'm going to
Called
check that out as soon as I get off of this. I cannot wait to watch that.
Okay, it's called Sugar is My Name. It's on YouTube, and it's also on Spotify and Bandcamp.
Okay.
I uh, I'm also a member of the Music Maker Music Review. They try and help musicians, especially blues musicians that are down on their luck
Mhm.
and and never and that are really really good musicians, but they didn't make it in the younger days. But they're of age now, and a lot of them are on Social Security, and they're not making it too good. So what they do, they try to get them jobs, gigs, and let them make a little money for themselves before they
If you
pass.
if you get a chance, can you send me a link to that organization sometime here in the near future?
I sure will. They're
Yeah,
they're
I
they're
would
not.
love that. I would
Yeah,
love that.
they're a non-profit, and I'm friends with the president and his son who's operating it now.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, they had a roof put on my house. This is how they generous they are with the
What?
donations. Yeah, I
Wow.
needed a roof on my house, a $9,000 roof on my house, and I didn't know they could do this. But they called me up one day and asked me what I needed, and I told them, and they did it.
Wow. That's
Uh,
that's awesome. That's amazing.
that it's absolutely amazing,
Wow.
and every chance I get, I try to promote them
Hmm.
and try to encourage people to donate.
Yeah.
I've also been given a lifetime achievement award by them because of my performances I've had with them,
Hmm.
and I'm also inducted into the Alabama Blues Hall of Fame. Also,
What? What year did that
yes,
happen? What year did
the,
that happen?
that happened 3 or 4 years ago. I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah. I'd love to see that.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
that's about three and a half years ago, and
What an
and and
honor. What an honor.
yeah,
Holy cow.
yeah, and I I and I'm all self-taught and hard knocks, and I still play. Uh, uh, I'll be 79 in August,
Wow.
and
What
and
what
and
what what date in August? What's the date in August?
Au- August 29th.
Oh, so you're not a Leo.
No, I'm a Virgo.
You're Virgo.
Yes.
That's the same, 'cause I was born July 25th, and that's the beginning of the
Okay.
Leo. So, yeah.
I'm right
That's
on
why
the
I was
cusp.
asking.
I'm right on the cusp.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
So now that you're in the military, before we start getting the blue heavily here, when did you see your first Tops and Blue show, or did you ever see one before you started trying to get with Tops and Blue?
Okay, this is this is a weird situation also.
Oh, I love
Uh,
weird. Go ahead.
my whole career, and my whole life it's been a really a challenge, but not a challenge to me because I was in the midst of it, and I didn't actually uh, 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 know what was going on. I just lived it, and if I had to do it all again over again, I would, because
Yeah.
it was a pleasure and it was a learning experience.
Yeah.
I I um uh I was in Thailand. Uh, I, I served in Thailand for 2 years. Uh, um, I worked in the aircraft and crash hangar, and what I did, I was a liaison between base supply and air and the flight line.
Mhm.
And what I did, I ordered parts to repair F4E model aircrafts.
Okay.
I also learned how to, believe it or not, I, I wasn't registered to do it, but and it was not on record, and you didn't hear me say this, but I also went up in one as a co-pilot.
Oh, you got a little incentive ride, did you?
Yes, I got a ride, and man, I just absolutely loved it, simply because I got to know the mechanics, and I got to know some of the pilots, and when I ordered parts, I never ordered refurbished parts for those aircrafts, in which I ordered they had to be brand new.
Hmm.
No refurbished stuff, no cannibalized stuff off another aircraft.
Yeah.
I made sure that the aircraft in my squadron were uh, were fit for combat. Put it that
Nice.
way. And because I know how important those pilots are, and I
Yeah.
know how important the missions were. So I even helped install parts on aircrafts and stuff.
Oh,
I learned.
did a little maintenance, did you?
Yeah, yeah, I did a little maintenance, and uh, uh, I heard about Thompson Blue while I was while I was there in 72, and when I served my time, I left I left there in 73 and went to Barksdale Air Force Base.
Okay.
And when I got to Barksdale Air Force Base, uh, they put me in a unit called housing supply. But I wanted to work on the flight line,
Hmm.
but they needed a someone with some experience and someone who knew the Air Force supply Bible. They call it the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And back like that back of the hand, and I could I could order stuff off the back of my out the back of my at the top of my head, you know. I can go right to it. In them days, we didn't have computers.
Right.
The only computer we had was the UNIVAC 1050 system that printed out information, and you had to know how to read it.
Hmm.
So they sent me to housing supply, which Barksdale Air Force Base has a enormous housing community, a beautiful housing community. It's right outside. It's in Bossier City, right outside of Shreveport, Louisiana. And I happened to walk by the recreation center, and one of the lady was talking about Thompson Blue, the one of the uh, 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 operators of the entertainment committee in the recreation center.
Okay.
So she was talking about Thompson Blue. So I walked up and I asked her how, I heard about it when I was overseas, but we didn't get it overseas in Thailand at the time. She said, "Oh yeah, we have a program, and actually we start in a couple of days having our contest here, the base level contest. What do you do?" I says, "Well, I play harmonica and I sing the blues." She said, "I don't know how are we going to put you in a category." He says, she said, "But can you just play the harmonica? Because uh, if you sing, you're going to be in a different category, and we don't know how well we're going to do this. So I told her, yeah, I could just play the harmonica. I could play instrumental.
Hmm.
So I chose a tune called "Summertime," and I played it like I was playing a saxophone.
Oh, okay.
I played it. I played the harmonica like a saxophone. So what happened? I won uh the base level, and then I went to the command level, and I won the command level,
This is
and
all in the
then
instrumental, and this is all in the instrumental solo category.
yeah,
Okay.
instrumental solo, yeah,
Okay.
and then I went to the uh command level. But the first time I went to the command level, um, they came to me and they told me that instrumental solo mean instrumental solo, and that I couldn't have no kind of accompaniment.
Okay.
But but I said I can't have anything to time me or get timing or no kind of backing. They told me absolutely not.
Wait,
But
hold that thought. Hold that thought, sir. So you're saying
okay,
they wouldn't do a backup band with you? You had to, there was no accompaniment whatsoever. You had to just do your own piece up there by yourself. Wow.
at that time, that's what they
Yeah.
told me.
Yep.
I
Okay.
said, "What I can't have no basics like bass or
Yeah.
drums or
Yeah. Something to
uh,
keep time with. Yeah. Anything.
something to keep time with."
Yeah.
They said no, it has to be solo when I got to the command level. But I didn't read I didn't read the rules.
Okay.
So when I went up there, I tanked at the command level. And the command level at that time was held at Lackland Air Force Base, the first one
Okay.
I went to. And I tanked simply because of the fact that I needed some timing.
Yeah.
I needed some because by me playing with a band, uh, 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 I didn't get the timing. So
Yep.
I absolutely tanked. So I was I wasn't pleased with that at all. So I went back the next year, and I think I think I skipped. I think skipped a year, and then I got transferred to McGill Air Force Base,
Okay. Now we're in Florida. All right.
right in Tampa, Florida, where I
Yep.
grew up at.
Where you grew up at. Yep.
Yeah. So once I got to McGill, by the way, I re-enlisted
Oh,
at the
okay.
time, and they
Yep.
gave me my base of preference.
I was going to ask you that. Did you ask for McDill or was this the fluke that you got there? But you asked for it.
I asked for it.
Nice.
So they gave me my base of preference. So when I got to McGill, the uh, the people at Barksdale Air Force Base, the entertainment committee, and the recreation center, we had gotten really familiar with each other because I did some shows for them, and I did some shows for them in the NCO club. I played and sang the blues, and the people like look forward for me to come over there every weekend to sing and play for them.
Hmm.
And I got so uh, familiar with them. So what wound up happening is when I came to McDill Air Force Base, uh, uh, I entered I entered the the base level, and I won it, I went to the command level, and I won. And then when I got to the command, to the worldwide level, which was held in Cocoa Beach, Florida at the time, and I got with Tom and I got with Jack Jackson, who was the tour director at the time.
Okay.
And for some reason, they said that they want to interview me. I says, interview me? I said, yeah. Jack said, I saw what happened to you in the worldwide in the Lackland. And he says it's a shame simply because of the fact that you should have asked to read the rules. Always ask for the rules when something happened to you like that. Because he said, I was embarrassed for you.
Hmm.
And we went to the rules, and the rules says instrumental solo means instrumental solo, but you allowed to have basic backing, like a drum, bass,
Yep.
and a guitar,
Yeah.
Mhm. And they didn't give this to you. He says, and from what I heard, and from what I heard from what I heard from the people at the entertainment committee at Barksdale Air Force Base, that you're really good. And he says we want good people uh, uh, to qualify for Thompson Blue. I says I told him I was interested.
Hmm.
Then he came over. He says played a couple of notes on the piano, and he told me to. He gave me a line to sing, and then I sang the line. My girl. I sang the line.
Hmm.
So what he was doing, he was trying to set me up for the vocal group.
That's where it feels like this is going. Yeah.
That's what he was trying to do. I said,
Yeah.
I knew what Jack Jackson did because Jack Jackson was a member of that vocal group also. And at the time, I was 6'1", 200 pounds, slim. I got, I guess I fit the statue for one of the people in the vocal group, so he was sizing me up. So I didn't think nothing of it. And when I came out of the room, a lot of the guys says, "You got an interview with Jack Jackson, and you haven't even played yet." I, s- I said, "What does that mean?" And then one of the dancers who was also there, and I got to know him, Doug Washington.
Oh, okay.
Doug Washington came to me and says, "They say that you can dance." So we played some music, and I did the robot and some other stuff. And he stood there and looked at me at the corner of his eye. He said, "Damn." He said, I did a little James Brown thing I had when I was on stage in New York. He said, "You got some moves there, boy." He says, he says, he says, you might be able to teach me some stuff. I said, "Man, I done seen you jump off that stage. I ain't gonna be doing all that." But that's when I met Doug
Yeah.
and a couple of other guys. So I didn't think anything of it. So when my time came to perform in the preliminaries, he says I want and he says what I want you to do. He says I want you to Jack Jackson said I want you to go to the band leader and I want y'all to write a chart of your music. And I don't want you to go over this. He didn't want me to go over a certain. He told me how many minutes I had.
Hmm.
He said, but you give them your music and how you want to do it. So I had it already written out. So I went to him. I played "Summertime." I think it was a minute and a half, and I played a tune called "Coming Home," jazz tune on the harmonica. And it was about a minute and a half, and they run one into the other. And I gave it to the band leader. And he says, "Oh yeah, these are great tunes." He says, uh, uh, we, he said we could definitely do that. So when it was my time to go up to perform, you know, you have you backstage and or on one side of the room, and then they call you up to do your tune, do your
Yep.
songs and the preliminaries.
Hmm.
So I went up and I did my little thing and got a standing ovation. Came down and the guy says, "Man, I knew a couple of people that were from the previous contest, and uh, and one of them was T.A. Burroughs."
Yay. All right.
I met T.A. And our names sound alike, but they're spelled different, so we
Uh-huh.
kind of drew each other's attention.
Right.
I met TA, and he and I kind of rubbed elbows together, and uh, uh, he gave me some encouragement. I met Mr. Walker, James Walker,
Hmm.
and he says you should be on somebody's billboard, man. The way you play that thing. I said it's all a matter of opinion, I guess. And uh, when they did all the tabulations and stuff and came up, I made it to the finals. And there was another guy playing saxophone.
And he was in the finals with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
playing the same song.
No way.
Yeah,
Did
he
you know that
switched.
ahead of did you know that ahead of time? You must have known that ahead of time.
I didn't know it ahead of time
Oh,
because
wow.
because I didn't know you were allowed to change a song if you wanted to.
Uh-huh.
He changed his song to "Summertime."
Wow. That's kind of a low blow.
It was. He changed his song to "Summertime," and he got up and played first. I mean, he killed it. After another couple of acts, I got up and I played mine, and I played "Coming Home," and he won.
Hmm.
When they tabulate all of the numbers and everything, he and they called him up when they put they put all the trophies on the table on the
Hmm.
stage for the finals after the finals is over, and he won. And they called me for, and I got second place. I got Wilco. He got the Roger. So, but I but but I was satisfied. I really was.
Yeah.
I finally got to the world to the command to the
Yep.
worldwide, and I finally won. Now after that happened, we're all sitting in the audience waiting for the final news. So I left the I, I left the theater. I says, "Nah, they're not gonna select me to go anywhere." So I left the theater, and the guy and then one of the guys says, "Where you going?" And Doug Washington said, "Where you going?" I says, "Well, I'm going to take a trip to a friend's house. I knew some people in Cocoa Beach, Florida. That's where we were at."
Well, now let me ask you this real quick. Why did you think you wanted to leave? I mean, the ceremony wasn't over yet. Why did you leave? Were you bummed that you didn't take first place, or you just didn't think they were going to call you for the tour, or why did you leave?
I left because I didn't think I was going to be called for the tour. I really didn't.
So you didn't want to enjoy the rest of the ceremony or anything. You decided I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm out. I said I'm out.
Okay.
Then when I got to the bottom of the stairs, Jack Jackson ran down and grabbed me. He said, "Where the hell are you going?" I said, "Well, I'm going to visit." He says, "You know, if your name is called and you're not in the auditorium, you won't be going anywhere."
Yeah.
So something clicked. I said, "I don't believe them sneaky.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
believe they did me like this."
Right. Right.
Uh, 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 so I went back in, and Tom Edwards stood up to the microphone, and he says, We got to have somebody to play the blues. And he called my name,
Wow.
and
Wow.
I almost fainted.
Yeah. Wow.
I almost fell on my knees because I had worked so hard to get there,
Yep.
and I had sacrificed a lot. And each year to leave my section, my workplace, it took pulling teeth to do so because at the time, uh, uh, in my work, and I did get some flack from a lot of my coworkers simply because of every year I was gone,
Hmm.
and they figured that I shouldn't have those privileges. But I told them if they had any kind of talent, they could do it also.
Yep.
But they complained, they complained, and I had a couple of supervisors that were really. I had one supervisor who gave me a bad uh, uh, performance report because of that,
Wow.
but he had to go back and change it because Tom called him.
There you go.
Tom called him up. He says, "I will have all your heads." He said, "This man is been exemplary,
Hmm.
and he never got in any kind of trouble,
Yeah.
and
And
had
you're
never been."
representing the base.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
representing the base.
exactly. And I'm setting an example
Yes.
for other people to follow.
Right.
And Tom, he straightened him out a couple of times. He had to do that.
Yeah.
So we went on tour. So while 45 days doing staging, we were in staging, right?
Where was staging at in '77? Was it in Texas?
It was in Lackland, yeah, at
Laughlin.
Lackland,
Okay. Yep.
in Texas. So so what he did, we were in one room practicing some Temptation songs and Four Tops and harmonizing. He said, "Oh man, you guys are gonna do good." It's me, a guy named Don Zimmerman, uh, Doug Washington, Rob. I don't know what Rob's last name was, but uh, Don Zimmerman was a choreographer. He was a dancer. He came in second behind Doug, and 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 and, and Rob was in another vocal group, and I think his group got second. And he had a tenor, high tenor, and I was the baritone, and Don Zimmerman was bass, and Doug Washington right in between all of us.
Hmm.
So we start harmonizing, and everybody came to the room and says, "Man, y'all sound good." He says, but Jack Jackson came to me and says, "But I don't think you're gonna be able to do the vocal group thing." I says, "Why not?" He said, because that'll be too much on you. You have to do your solo. We got to do your solo because that's what the people see you as.
Hmm.
And you got to do the uh, the vocals, but you got to design it and help make all these outfits. I says, "What? Who told you that?"
What?
The lady at the recreation center spilled the beans that I was an artist, and I am an artist also,
Hmm.
and that I designed, and that I'm a tailor. I am a tailor and seamster.
Okay. Well, you're the right
And
person for the job then.
yeah, and that I was going to have to design all the outfits
From scratch?
from scratch.
They
He
didn't have
says,
anything on the shelf already for you guys. You
"Mm,
designed from
mm, mm,
scratch.
nothing on the ship." He says, "Since you're an artist," and I did display some of my art on the bass and all that. and I even show people the clothes that I made for myself. I've been sewing since I was about 9 years old. Uh, what happened?
No, I got you.
That okay. That's another story.
Yeah.
It was
So,
so.
so let me get this straight. So you're pulled on tour. You're doing vocals and harmonica. You aren't actually part of the band per se. You are part of the general cast as a vocalist. How were you? What were you slotted in as a vocalist or an instrumentalist or a do-all or what was the? How were you slotted in the cast?
In the cast, I was slotted as an instrumental soloist. I did my solo act,
Okay.
and the reason he says uh, uh, we're gonna allow you to do whatever you want on your solo act
Hmm.
because uh, you know what you got your. He says you got your music already charted, and I already had it charted, and we're gonna use the whole band behind you, and we're gonna use your show as a chance for the rest of the band to get dressed for the next act because mine was done in front of the curtains.
I got you. All right. All right. I'm with
He,
you.
he said, and you're gonna be the key to the whole show. He said because you're gonna allow us to gather ourselves together while you're doing your act.
Wow.
And and he says, plus they told us you know stuff about electronics and stuff like that. I said, yep. It says plus you're gonna be a part of the sound crew. You're gonna be you. We're gonna have to use you in the lighting. And if anything needs to be repaired, like cords, mic cords or whatever, I said, yeah, I do all of that. I was a little buff, Popular Mechanics buff.
Hmm.
We're gonna need you all around the whole thing, but mainly we want you to be the costume coordinator, the wardrobe coordinator, and designer. I said, okay, I'll do that. So what I did, being my act, he says, but we're gonna have to scratch you for the vocal group. I says, oh man, that's what I really wanted to do.
Hmm.
He says, but I'll tell you something. What you're doing is more important than just that vocal group. I said, okay, all right. So they gave me a room to, uh, and told me what what he wanted to do. And he says we're gonna have to have costumes for the intro, costumes for
For the whole team.
yeah, for the whole team, everybody. He said we're gonna have to have costumes for the intro. We're gonna have to have different costumes for the for the for the for each skit. We
Yes.
had a couple of skits, and we have uh, 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 we had a comedy skit, we had a gospel skit, and we had uh, a finale skit, and then we had the finale. Okay, Leon Johnson was the comedian,
Okay.
and he did a skit, a church skit called Reverend Happy Nappy, and he also did a comedy skit with Doug when he tried to dance,
Oh,
and the skit before the finale, he did a skit called Disco Butterbeans, which the title of the tour was Disco 77.
yeah.
Thompson Blue Disco 77.
Yeah.
So I designed costumes for the intro, which was they were like jumpsuit type outfits, and they were in uh watermelon jumpsuits with all kind of sequences and trinkets down the side and stuff of that sort. I designed and I helped construct those, and I did have help. We employed Air Force wives.
That was my next question. I was going to say, did they have other cast members helping, or did you have outside help doing this?
Yeah, I had outside help. Air Force wives. We had sewing machines everywhere,
Mhm. Wow.
and 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 he put me in charge of it. He says, since you know about supplies, because I was my AFSC was supply.
Right.
You know about supplies. You know about procurement. You know about doing all of this. He says all. He says when we hire people, when we select people to go on tour, you would be one of the first ones because of all the knowledge you have with
Right.
everything.
Yeah, you're so well rounded in all this stuff. You're like
Yeah.
you're a jack of all trades.
Yes. So he says I'm going to put it in your hand. So I was kind of Tom Harris and Jack Jackson's assistant at the time. That's what they called me. And what I did, they gave me a vehicle. They gave me an Air Force vehicle. Uh, they practically gave me a checkbook.
Petty cash.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they gave me some procurement paperwork in which I knew about the local procurement paperwork.
Hmm.
And I knew about all of that because I was in supply. By me being in supply, I know how to go out for local purchases.
Right.
When we needed to buy something locally that we couldn't get, that we needed right away, or we needed something manufactured or made, I knew how to go downtown to companies and places and have it made. And I knew how to do all of that. To make a long story short, uh, I went to some fabric companies, and what they didn't have in stock. I know how many yards we made according to how many from experience and how many yards I needed per person.
Hmm.
And I went and I ordered and I ordered material for all of it, lining for all of it. I had to go to several different fabric stores and fabric companies, and I took the procurement papers and had them to sign it, and they delivered the fabrics. And uh, Tom Edwards wrote them a check, paid them, and I had a petty cash. I had petty cash, and
Hmm.
if I needed something uh, that was under $500, under $500,
Hmm.
I could purchase it myself. But what I did, I did everything uh on procurement paperwork. That
That way you had
that's
track of it. Yeah.
that's why I can keep track. And when I also made deals uh, 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 with a lot of the companies, being that we are military, Air Force. I got some 50% off and
Yeah. The sweet
100% off.
discounts. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of, and he was totally smiles when I did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got the top of the line of materials and sewing equipment. Even bought a couple of sewing machines and stuff of that sort.
When did you have time to learn the show during all this?
I didn't. I didn't. I spent all my time making, physically making some of the costumes myself, keeping up with all of the people. I had 20 people working for me,
Hmm.
keeping up with all 20 people. I didn't want to overload one person because we had to get those costumes out in 2 weeks because
Wow.
they didn't decide that I was going to do all this until we were into it and we had 2 weeks left.
I was gonna
They're
say
trying to
now you got to maintain this stuff when you're on the road.
exactly. That's why I was the coordinator while I was on the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, uh,
Wow.
uh, Myself, and they assigned all of the girls. We had 5 girls. All of the girls in the female vocal group assisted me in maintaining those outfits, keeping them clean, keeping them maintained and in good order. I also made spares. What I did, uh, I made backup costumes. They weren't completely sewn together, but just the shells.
Mm-hmm.
I bought extra materials and I put them in a trunk, and because I know we're going to need to repair that stuff. And uh, I covered all corners. And
Wow.
and and Tom was telling me, man, he says, I don't know what we would have done without you. Because he says we have never had anybody on this tour that knew as much as that did as many multitasking as I had at the
Mm-hmm.
time.
It's incredible to me. That
Yeah,
that would that would be unthinkable nowadays.
it is it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Plus, plus at the time we only had the bus. We didn't have anything to travel. We didn't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
We traveled on the bus, and all the lighting was done. We had the hydraulic light trees that were inside of a container. Have
Mm-hmm.
you seen those?
Yeah. I've seen pictures of
Uh-huh.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, we had those hydraulic trees, and they were kept underneath the bus. We had trunks, trunks that belonged to each one of us that was kept. And the first three rows of seats were removed. We put all our trunks and stuff in the first three rows. We hung all of the costumes that we were going to use
Mm-hmm.
on a special rack they had made right in the front next to me, so I can keep account. And all the other equipment was put underneath the bus, and all the seats were turned facing. It had two rows of seats
Yep.
facing each other,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a trailway bus, a modified trailway bus. And I pulled it off.
Wow.
Three
That's
days, 3 days before we were gonna go get on the board on the bus.
mm-hmm.
Two of the ladies had problems,
Uh-oh.
so I jumped in my car. I jumped in the vehicle that they gave me, and I went to their houses. And one lady had broken down. Says I can't. She had 10 outfits. She says I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't make this. I can't. I says wait a minute, calm down. Let me show you some shortcuts. So I show her. She had made 5 of them,
Mm-hmm.
but her problem was she cut them out all one at a time.
Oh, okay.
I said, this is what you do. I said, you get the largest pattern and you cut all 10 of them. Well, we had 5 more. She says, and you cut all 5 of them out at one time, like mass production.
Right.
Then you put them all together and you bring them in for a fitting. Everybody had to get it fitted.
Right.
You bring them in for a fitting. I said, do that. And we're going to wake everybody up. And we woke everybody up at Billings, where we were living, where we were living at. We woke everybody up, and they were raising hell. I said, "No, man, we got to do this." We fitted everybody. We hand sewed, uh, 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 and the girls helped me. We hand sewed, basted everything together, and I spent all night with that lady, sewing that stuff together.
Wow.
And we got it all together. I pressed them, and the other outfits I had sent to the laundry to be pressed. I pressed those. We went, and in 3 days we had all outfits ready to go. Everything was ready to go.
So day one of the tour, everything was ready to go, fitted and ready to go.
Everything was ready to go.
Wow.
Now, I never rehearsed.
I was
Listen
gonna
to
say
this.
we haven't even talked about music yet.
Right. I never rehearsed my number. Never. I I never rehearsed my number.
Uh-huh.
And Jack Jackson came to me. He says, "I know you can do it.
Mhm.
We're not gonna even fret with that." He says, "I want you to get up there and I want you to kill him." So when my number came up, the man had all my music, and I got out on our first performance, and I did just that.
Wow. So where were you slotted? Where was your performance in the show? What set was it in?
My performance was set in the third in the in the in the in the third set when we had to set up for the gospel,
Oh, okay.
and when we set up, I was in the third set, and then I appeared again in the finale.
Okay.
And the third set, and after everybody set up for the gospel, I had to run back, go outside of the studio, outside of the auditorium
Hmm.
to work the lights. I worked the lights.
Are you saying you worked the actual light? You actually were the lighting director, so to speak,
Yeah,
or did you assist them?
yes, I wasn't the assistant. I was I was the spotlight operator.
Okay, that's there you go. Okay, the spotlight. Yeah, all right.
Mhm. I operated the spotlight. Then I had to go backstage again, get the second change of outfits ready for the guy, lay them out so the guys can just jump in them.
Hmm.
They came and jumped in them, and once they got those, I got dressed for the finale and had to come out of the studio again and go to the soundboard.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
And Jack Jackson was at the soundboard, and he would go backstage while I was at the soundboard and help in anything he could in backstage.
Uh-huh.
And from the soundboard, one of the other, I think it was either Leon Johnson or one of the guys in the vocal group was come and take over the sound while I went backstage to assist with the costumes again. And then after the disco butterbean thing, everybody was dressed in yellow,
Yellow. All right.
like a butter like a butterbean.
Okay, like a butter bean. That makes sense. There we go.
The band, uh, the vocal group, the girls' vocal group, all of them, everybody was dressed in yellow. I had to make all them costumes in yellow,
Wow.
and I declined on being being in that particular set because somebody had to operate the equipment.
Yeah.
So I did the spotlight. Jack Jackson did uh uh the sound, and Ozell James. OJ, he was a gaffer at the time. He didn't perform.
Hmm.
OJ, you remember OJ?
Yeah.
Ozell James.
I know Ozell. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, he did. He made sure all of the light trees and everything was focused and working. And it was one of the other members of the female vocal group named Tanya. He was backstage getting everything ready for the finale. Then after Jack took over from the soundboard, I went back in my costume for the finale, and we all went on stage, and I did the finale. And one of the things I had to do was play "Isn't She Lovely" by Stevie Wonder on the
Oh,
harmonica
okay.
on
Wow.
the chromatic. So we did that for 130 shows on 128 days.
That's just amazing to me. I mean, we all talk. All the priors talk about all the little ancillary duties they have. You know, I was in staging and the bass player, but listening to you, we had it easy. Even though we didn't have it easy, comparatively, we had it easy. That's just amazing to me. So how did all your outfits, all your costumes, how did they hold out during the tour? They hold out okay? You have to do a lot of repairs.
No, no, they
They
didn't
hold-
hold up. Let me give you a little bit more light. Uh, hold on.
No problem. Take your time. Oh, there we go.
Mhm. Yeah, I was doing. I just had the door open, and I was had a little daylight coming in.
Well, natural light, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and uh, we had a couple of close calls because when you do a stretch of shows and you can't stop. You do a show in a city and then you pack up and leave and go to another one and pack up and leave and go to another one.
Hmm.
Um, we're not able to properly clean and sanitize them
It got a little
costumes.
funky.
Yes, they get a little tasty, you know. So I had to
Okay.
find a way to disinfect them. I had to find a way to air them out. We had to take them out of the bags and air them out. And some of the costumes attachments like the sequences and braids and stuff I had on them, they were decorated pretty good.
Yeah.
And they were wearing off and through common wear and tear. Then a couple of costumes we had a couple of cars that had kind of worn holes in the knees or in the back, or worn. So rather than repair them, I replaced them. We
Oh.
had we had a couple of costumes to replace them with. I made sure I had material. Oh, I even had to break down a couple of costumes and patch them in. But I did it in such a way on the scene that you really couldn't tell it was patched. And I had to make sure had to transport all the costumes to be cleaned at the laundry. I had to make sure I went to one of those laundries that can do it within an hour. You know, they had those one
Yeah.
hour laundries.
Yeah.
And usually when we got to a base and told them what we needed beforehand, they would do the research.
Yeah.
And all we had to do was take the costumes and deliver them. So as soon as we got there, and by the time the show started, they'd be ready.
Then you're hoping whoever's hands you put those into took care of your stuff, and you didn't come back with shrunk or
Right, right,
shattered
right, right.
things.
I specifically told them, I said, look, these are costumes, these are performance costumes,
Yeah.
and you got to take extra care. So they dry cleaned everything. They never put anything in water,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and they were paid well for it.
Yeah.
They were paid well for it, and I would always either Jack took them or they gave me a vehicle to take them. Or I went, or sometimes we got volunteers to take them. And the people at each base that we went to were absolutely wonderful.
Hmm.
They treated us like kings and queens.
Yeah.
And the banquets were and the only costumes that I didn't make was the the suits that the guys wore
Hmm.
for the banquets. Jack decided, well, I want you. We're gonna order those. And the jumpsuits, the blue jumpsuits that we wore,
Hmm.
they had some in stock, and they just reordered those. Those are the only costumes that I didn't make.
Wow. But you had to maintain them though, didn't you?
I had to maintain them all, yes.
Right. Wow.
And each one of us had two jumpsuits with the patches on them,
Hmm.
and I had to maintain it. I had to maintain all of that stuff. The only thing I didn't maintain the boots that we wore, combat boots,
Hmm.
and but I set an example. My combat boots were spit polished.
Yeah, you could probably, I was gonna say, you could probably brush your teeth on them and look. Yeah, yeah.
They
Wow.
were like a mirror, and
Yeah.
I have to show them the guys. I walk by and I show them to them.
You're like,
I
hey.
say, hey man, look at them. That look good.
Yep.
And then they get mad at me.
You're like, I found time to shine my boots. Why didn't you find time to shine your boots? Yeah.
Yeah, and but they did pretty good with them. But
Wow.
they ain't look like a mirror. They ain't like a mirror like mine.
Did at any point in time during this tour, and is it safe to say this was a tough tour? Was it a tough tour in your mind?
You know what? It was learning.
Okay. At
It,
any point during this tour, did you ever think about I'm out here. I want to go home. Did you ever think about quitting?
no, but several other people did.
Yeah. It's
And
not for everybody, man. It's not for
yeah,
everybody.
yeah, it's not for everybody. And and, and the reason uh and the reasoning I didn't let anybody know that was tough on me because of my lifestyle and how I had come up.
Hmm.
I had come up. My mom. I was raised by my mom because my daddy he kind of flew a coop.
Hmm.
But my mom was always say, "Don't let it beat you.
Yeah.
Wherever you start, you better finish."
Yeah.
That's what she said. If you start it, if you want to do something, if you start it, you better finish it. That's what she said. You better have the courage and the backbone to finish. So
Solid
half,
words.
yeah, halfway through the tour, I used to say to myself, I love what I'm doing. And they used to hate me for saying that.
So I
I
get the
said,
impression you were a highly motivated team member, and you really wanted to set the example.
I like to say that I got in trouble a couple of times.
Uh-oh.
I got in some uh some uh some trouble a couple of times with a couple of members. They
It happens.
they 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 were fed up with me trying to be the boss, talking about I was trying to be the tour. I was trying to be the tour leader. I was trying to do this. I was trying to do that. And I kept saying, look, we're all in this together. I'm just trying to motivate people, you know?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to motivate people to do what they're supposed to do.
Wow.
But uh, one trying time, there was one trying time where I dropped the ball.
Uh-oh.
And I never told anybody this, but everybody laugh at me when they remember it. During, during the finale, just before finale, after I after I get through operating, I think the lights, I go back and I have to sit in the dressing room, getting all making sure all of the costumes and stuff are put away. Uh, uh, and then I have to go out, and they close the curtains, and I have to go out, get in my position. You know, they got tape on the floor where your
Hmm.
positions are,
Hmm.
your initials on them, and you get in position with my harmonica, my chromatic harmonica, to do the last part of the finale. And what I did, I sat down and I shouldn't have done it. And I fell asleep.
Oh no. No. You were out
I
like a
know.
light. You were out like a light.
And I went out like a light because I did not know I was that exhausted, you know. And once you sit down and your eyes close, that's it. And one of the girls running back and says, Charles, Sergeant Burroughs. I said, what? They're out there. The finale started, and you're not out there. I said, what? And I ran out. Doug grabbed me by the hand. I ran out, and the lights came on. I said, it's too late. I can't go out there. I'm going to embarrass everybody if I go out there.
Right.
And when they got to my part, it got silent. But Carl Hawkins, the keyboard player,
Uh-huh.
started playing my part because
Oh,
they put the spotlight on you.
yeah.
But Carl Hawkins started playing my part on the keyboard because I was standing in the wings. He looked over at me and I was waving at him. He started playing my part on the keyboards, which really saved the finale.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah,
Yep. Wow. That's incredible.
yeah.
So I'm going to read something to you in a minute I just can't wait to read to you. You might have already read this, but when you got done with tour, when you went back home, I'm guessing you went back to Tampa after tour.
Yes.
Did you have any people priors talk about the wall that we hit after all that, year of hard work, and then you get away from all your friends from tour and your family on tour. Did you ever hit, the so-called wall after you got done, or did you just go right into performing, doing your thing after you went back to your base?
I did hit a wall. Uh, and the wall I hit was after we got off tour. Tom gave us a 2 weeks sabbatical to in
Hmm.
between going back home. So I took a trip back to Barksdale Air Force Base to thank everybody who helped me
Oh, that's nice.
help me who vouched for me because I didn't know it until halfway through. I didn't know it until I got actually was walking out the door of the auditorium at Cocoa Beach that Jack Jackson and Tom told me that they put in a bunch of good words for me, and they've been dealing with the people for years. So
Mhm.
I went back and I thanked them, and I went back and and I did not think people notices. We didn't go to Barksdale for the show that year,
Oh,
but everybody just praised me and jumped around. They said thank you. It, uh, uh, we feel that we are responsible for you being there because uh, this way you got your fumble training, stuff like that.
right.
We pushed, we pulled, we sacrificed also. I said and I thanked everybody for what they did and how they did it in order to get me on Tops and Blue.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's an honor. It takes hard work and something special for you to get the Tops and Blue.
Yep.
So I felt very, very special.
Yeah. Oh, how
Very.
could you not? I mean, this the again, when I talk to the priors, and I think you're the farthest, you and TA are the farthest back I've gone so far since I've started this. When I talk to the priors, from the back in the day, it amazes me. Well, I shouldn't say it amazes me. It always touches my heart to hear about what you guys have done before us, what you guys and gals have done before us, the sacrifices you guys have made, you guys and gals have made before us. I mean, your tours were definitely harder. Technology was different back then. Like you said, you put everything underneath the bus. We had our tractor trailers, we had our vans, we had our generators, and you guys were bare bones. We're building the costumes from scratch. Everything's under the bus. Everything we need's here on the bus. We're going to make the show work, and it's going to be great. And literally, with even though back then it might not have been considered minimal equipment, it was really minimal equipment back then. Am I not? Is
That,
that
that-
a fair statement?
exactly. It was bare bones because
Yeah.
what whatever we didn't buy, we had to create, we had to make.
Yeah. Yep.
We had to fabricate,
Yeah.
and it. I had fun. I I had fun doing it. I mean, I really did. I had fun doing it. I had fun Uh, I got to know people from all walks of life, from different parts of the country,
Hmm.
and it taught me kind of a brotherhood, you know.
Yeah. No,
And
that's probably one of the biggest things it does teach us as priors. I mean, the military does that in general, but when you have a group that, works, lives, sleeps, changes together, you know,
exactly,
for in such a, compressed time frame in compressed areas for that amount of time, you're going to have a few naysayers, and you're not going to get off a tour loving everybody, so to speak. But there's no doubt in my mind, you would still go back, and anybody that you toured with, or any prior for that matter, if they needed something, you would help them out.
but yeah, oh yeah,
You'd help 'em out.
definitely,
Yeah, yeah,
and they
yeah,
knew it.
and yeah, and they, exactly. I want to read this before I forget about this. I have the big book of blue here. I don't know if you can see that or not. This is the
Okay,
history of Tops in Blue, and I want to read the explanation of your tour here. Let me put my little spectacles on here. I'm going to read this here. So, Tops in Blue 77. With three simple backdrop panels, this 19-member team carried forward the variety show concept by featuring music, dance, vocals, and comedian extraordinaire. The show opened with the entire group performing the song Message in Our Music. In true
yes,
Tops in Blue form, several comedic skits were laced throughout the show, including a kung fu expert, a mold mug. You have to break that one down for me here in a second. Salesman and a hilarious routine with a lead singer known as Disco Butterbean. There's your
yeah,
Butterbean. I love that. The show's female group, Brighter Shades of Blue,
uh-huh,
performed some of their favorite hits and contemporary duet wild with the audience with Barbra Streisand and Neil Diamond's You Don't Bring Me Flowers. The male
yeah,
group, Ebony Blue Experienced, used their harmonizing skills in tunes such as Desire Me, solo vocal numbers including Evergreen, A Star is Born, and
yeah,
Feelings. Brought brought other top of the chart music to the show. Adding even more variety, spectacular dancers emphasized thoughts expressed by the songs during popular tunes such as I Like Dreaming, and Here We Go for You. Others featured acts including a harmonica singing the blues,
that's me.
and of course the smooth sounds of the band's The Heavy Blue Express. I absolutely love that description of that tour. That's so great. So I know I'm gonna screw up some names here. I apologize to anybody in advance. Uh, A1C Bruce Askew, ASQEW, A1C Kenneth Brown, Sergeant
Mhm.
Charles Burroughs,
That's me.
Clarence Crossley, Sergeant
Yeah,
Deborah Davis, A1C Carol Deppenbrock,
Stephen
A1C
Brock.
A1C Jeffrey Greeley, Senior Airman Robert Hall, Staff Sergeant Carl Hawkins Jr., Staff Sergeant Jimmy Hayes, A1C Santezi Hubbard,
Yeah, Santez.
Santez, okay. Tech Sergeant Homer Jackson,
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant Ozell James,
Mm-hmm.
A1C Leon Johnson, Airman
Yeah,
Curtis Kirksey,
yeah.
Sergeant Cherie Landers, Senior Airman
Mm-hmm.
Janice Love, A1C Gary Thompson, Sergeant
Yes.
Tanya Walker, Sergeant Douglas Washington, and Sergeant Donald Zimmerman.
Yep, that's them.
And it says here, performed 123 shows at 88 locations.
Yep.
Wow. Good for you, sir. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
How do I get one of those books?
Uh, call Tom.
Okay. Yeah, I
That's
call him.
I don't know.
I
I don't
got
know how many the agency still has. I have that was we bought those. I don't know. It's probably been a decade now.
yeah,
We had those. That's my go-to, for things like this. So,
yeah. I got
uh,
Tom's number.
yeah,
I got his number.
yeah. Tom or Jerry or somebody at the agency, I'm sure can help you out if they still have them in stock, or you know somebody's got one someplace. Let me tell you, I had a question list for you, and you hit every topic I wanted to talk about. You went right through it, brother. You went right through it. This is, I gotta tell you, I know it's late in the evening. This has been such an honor and such a pleasure talking to you. This thrills me to no end. Now I'm gonna ask a favor. I haven't done this yet. I'm gonna see if you can be the first one to do this here. Before we say goodbye, do you have a harmonica handy?
Uh, oh wow. I I have them
If you
handy.
don't,
I
don't
have 'em-
worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. I was gonna say have you just play a few bars and take us out of the show here, but that's okay if you don't have it. No worries.
Yeah.
No pressure.
I just did a show yesterday, I think, and they're still in my car.
Oh, no worries. No worries. I figured you'd have one like on a holster, like right here, ready
Yeah,
to go.
I have one of those too.
Oh my goodness. How many harmonicas do you own?
Okay, I own about 100.
No, you do not.
Yeah, I do. See, you never get enough harmonicas.
Well, let me ask you this. See, I'm not very knowledgeable about the harmonica, but let me ask you this. How many different tunings are there for a harmonica? How many different variations? I know there's different sizes, but how many different tunings are there on a harmonica? How does that work?
12. It's 12.
Okay.
It's 12. But harmonica players these days, they retune harmonicas just to play certain songs,
Yeah.
and they refabricate them. I've experimented with them, but I have over 100, but that are playable. But I have more than that in pieces that I've
I bet.
experimented with.
I bet. Now, do you still have your Wilco that you earned?
You know what? It got stolen.
No way.
Yeah, it got stolen. And when we went to the reunion,
Hmm.
I was gonna ask Tom, is it possible that I can get another one or duplicate? But I forgot to do it. But
Oh.
it got stolen.
All right. All right there, Tops and Blue. Let's see what we can do here for this man. Let's get him a Wilco back. Let's get
Yeah.
him a Wilco back on that mantle.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh,
I needed to go right next to my Blues Hall of Fame plaque.
there you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, folks, uh, Charles Sugarheart Burroughs, man, it's been such an honor talking with you, and thank you for taking your time to chat with me, man. This has been so great.
That definitely it was my pleasure.
Oh, and mine as well. I wish you the best. I love you like a brother because we are brothers because we are
We
true
are.
brothers. And
We are.
if you need anything, you give me a call. If I'm ever your way, I'm gonna try to find you.
Okay. All
I'm gonna
right.
try to find
Definitely.
you. All right,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you
Okay.
again so much, and God bless. Much love to you. And I'll let you know when this airs. I'll send you a link and let you know when this is on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Charles. Take care, man. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Good night.
Night.